Okay. Yeah. Good evening, all. So we'll start. Okay. So as we understand from yesterday's session that we are going to cover all the Spring topics, including Spring Framework, Spring Boot, and microservices. Okay. We're going to discuss all these topics. Okay. Let me show you an MVC architecture where and how we design applications, particularly by using Java or Java frameworks. Okay. So develop any application, okay, Java or Java based frameworks we have, right? When we use Java or its frameworks, like as we know, Java is having many frameworks. Okay. So as we know, Java is having servlets, Jdbc for doing web applications. And we have EJBs also from Sun Microsystem itself. Okay. Servlets, JDBC, EJB is also provided. EJB will have two components, session beans, entity beans. And we have many open source frameworks also came into the market. These are the first enterprise modules that they given from Java for doing applications. From Java, we have from Sun Microsystems, basically, they given servlets implementations and EJBs. In the early 98, 99, 2000s, we have these releases from Java, Sun Microsystems. Now, Arkle is taking care. Okay. Now, Arkle is taking care of their releases. Am I not audible to everyone? Hello?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
You're audible.
What about you, Dinesh? Still is my voice is low? Can you please check your system volume? Dinesh, am I audible to you? Yes? Okay. Let us continue. Now, on top of servlets, okay, Struts came into the market. Struts.
So JSP?
JSP is also as part of servlets only, right? Servlets, JSPs. Okay. As part of servlet packages only, we have servlets and JSPs. Okay. Servlets, JDBC, JSPs. For web programming, they have given these components. Okay. Servlets given for web programming and EJBs given for enterprise distributed application programming. Okay. Sun given almost all the features. But there are some limitations with servlets and EJBs. We will discuss them. Okay. Why open source frameworks came into the market. Okay. So for doing web applications, okay, for any organization, the most important application types are two: either web application, a standard web application, or an enterprise application. Okay. If you see any organization, they will have their own web applications to publish their content and all, to maintain their customers and their real business. They'll build enterprise applications. Enterprise applications. If you take a banking example, right? They will publish their website using a simple web application, but to manage their entire banking process, they will build enterprise applications. Okay. So web applications are simple, like if you visit www.icici.com, It's a simple standalone, simple web application just to publish about their company, okay, their advertisements using a simple web components. They build it. But when you visit actual login, customer banking, or any other relations, insurance, okay, or anything else which are providing from their bank side, like their trust bankings or any internal applications, internal customer management applications, customer management, or any their employees management, their employee management. All such applications we can consider as enterprise applications because they will have many business dependencies. So a lot of business we are going to handle in such applications. Okay, simple web component, servlet component may not enough to build such large business. Okay, we'll discuss why. Okay, so the basic servlet components, EJB components, Java given, then why many frameworks came into the market like Struts, Spring, Hibernate. Okay, we'll talk about Struts first. Struts is also a web application component only. On top of servlets only they design. Using servlets only they designed this Struts. Okay, Struts build on top of servlets. Using servlet API only, a MVC framework designed. Okay, this is also a MVC framework. It is designed on top of servlets JSP. Servlets, JSP, JSTLs, all that concepts they used internally. Okay, but it can handle only web component. Okay, so if you have a plain web application which is having minimum DB operations, okay, you can choose Struts framework. You can choose Struts framework. What about enterprise application? If you have any enterprise applications, when Struts released, right? Struts released earlier, early in 2003 somewhere. Okay, their standard framework came into the market earlier 2003 somewhere, and Struts framework went to end of life in early 2012 or 13. By 2012 they closed it. Now Struts is no more in the market. Earlier 2012 or 13 somewhere. If you visit Struts website, Apache only provided this implementation. You can see their end of life. So as an open source, they released it as a free component. Later, they discontinued the support for Struts framework. But using Struts also, which applications you can able to build is web components, web application. A basic web application you can build. So what about Struts with EJB combinations? If you want to build a web component for enterprise applications, we can use both the combinations. Servlets with EJBs or Struts with EJBs also we can use. Okay, even if it is an enterprise application might need web component, a front-end UI, which need to be accessed from browser and need to interact. Even customer banking also, if you see, we used to log in, right? Using our login credentials, we log in and we used to add, if we want to do fund transfer, payees we add, we transfer, we purchase, we do many things. Recharge options, pay options, multiple options we used to have from the enterprise component. Though it is a enterprise implementation have in the backend using EJBs, the front end part we design again using servlets. So once Struts came into the market, many people started using Struts for the web component. Okay, many people started using web component. So Struts EJB combination also started. Struts with EJBs. Okay. And are there any other frameworks came into the market thereafter? Like Struts, there are many frameworks, many web frameworks came into the market. Struts, Wicket, JSF also. JSF also kind of Struts framework only. Okay, Java server faces. So these are basic MVC frameworks only for building web component only. Okay, so using EJB, plus JSF combination also we can able to build applications. Struts with EJB or servlets with EJB. Servlets components are from servlets and EJBs both are from Sun Microsystems only. We can use this combination also. Servlets and EJBs combination also you can use. So this is the old combination. Thereafter, for building web with enterprise applications, Struts came into the market. The JSF also came into the market. Alone JSF or alone Struts, it cannot able to build enterprise. EJBs are must. And thereafter, Hibernate came into the market. In early 2003-4 only, Hibernate also came into the market. Hibernate implementation by Rod Johnson, right? Who implemented Hibernate? Hibernate is designed on top of Jdbc only. Using Jdbc only, this is designed. Basically for doing database operations, even using Struts, EJBs, JSF EJBs also, the components which they use for doing database operations is either Jdbc or in EJBs we have components like EJB entity beans. EJB entity beans, which again will use Jdbc only. Okay, EJB entity beans also kind of ORM framework only. Okay, this is ORM only, like your Hibernate. So this EJB entity beans concepts we used to use across for doing database operations while using this web component Struts with JSF or servlets with JSF. This EJB entity beans we used to use that build on top of Jdbc only. For doing CRUD operations, we used to do this. For you doing CRUD operations only, we used to use this. This is like Hibernate only, entity beans. So whoever is the entity bean developer, okay, Rod Johnson. Is it Rod Johnson or yeah? So whoever developed on entity beans, right, framework, he only built a open source framework like Hibernate. Whatever dependencies earlier we have with the entity beans, right, by removing all that dependencies, he designed one Hibernate framework. When you design your application using entity beans, right, you need to use EJB container. For that one, you need to buy server. Like when you build your application using entity beans, right? Entity beans, to run entity beans and Struts. To run Struts, we need Tomcat, a web, as it is a web component, right? As it is a web component, to run this application, you need Tomcat to run your servlets or Struts or JSF. Okay. So using Tomcat, you can run Struts component or servlet components or JSF components. And what about EJBs? To run EJBs, we need EJB container like WebSphere and WebLogic, JBoss are such servers. They have both web server and EJB server. So here by using WebSphere or JBoss, what you can do, WebSphere or WebLogic or JBoss, they have both servlet container plus EJB containers. Both you can run using WebSphere, WebLogic or JBoss. You can run both the components. But as application servers are costly, we need to pay for them. As far as I know, Tomcat is open source, but not the remaining. JBoss also open source. But if you want to really use them and if you want support from the server vendors, you need to pay. Okay, you have to pay for them. If you want to use this component, you need to pay. Okay, even with the JSF also, servlets also, right? When you build your application with EJB combination, you need to pay. In case if you don't have this so much enterprise implementation in your application, and still if you want to use entity beans concepts, a ORM concept, if you want to use, you can go with Hibernate. Hibernate also open source. Say open source ORM tool. it is something like entity beans only. It is something like entity beans and implemented on top of Jdbc. It is open source ORM framework. For doing database operations, you can use it. Still, we have this EJB entity beans here, right? EJB session beans also we have. So EJB session beans also we use for implementing business and transactions. Okay, for implementing transactions, business logic, we used to use EJB session beans, especially in enterprise applications. How we can avoid that session beans concept? Why session beans are required? When I say enterprise application, right? An enterprise application will maintained across the globe in multiple servers. They will distribute the server load to multiple servers in enterprise application, especially, which is having huge load, right? We build it as an enterprise application and we distribute the load to different servers. So when you implement by using EJBs, EJB session beans we use across multiple servers to distribute the load. Instead of putting the complete load on a single machine or a single server, we build EJBs on multiple servers. In multiple servers, you can deploy them. One server code can able to talk with another server code, so that they can able to talk each other. They can able to talk each other, and you can able to manage transactions also. So when this entity beans wants to talk with this entity beans, it can talk like a remote method invocation, RMI, you might have, right? One mission code. If you want to talk with another mission code, we can use the RMI concept. It is more than RMI, okay? It is more than RMI. Remotely, we can able to call. There are some stubs and skeletons concept we have. Using that concept, using EJBs, we used to develop a big enterprise application. A big enterprise application, if you want to develop, we need to use EJB session beans. When we use EJB session beans, right, across all the servers, we have to use something like application server here, like web logic. You need to buy here for server 1, server 2, everywhere you need to pay the license. So are there any other concepts came into the market to build applications in multiple servers to distribute our load? Web services also came into the market. Open source web services came into the market. So using web services, you can able to overcome this problem. You can able to use web services, open source web services like RPC concepts we have, and SOAP concepts we have, REST concepts also we have. So once this web services concepts came into the market, then EJBs, slowly people started using these web services instead of EJBs for distributed applications. So instead of using EJB concepts, using web services concepts, people started using these remote applications. And if you want to manage transactions and all, okay, so we can manage local transactions, and there are some other concepts to manage them. So if they build applications using web services, in such case, you really need not to use EJB components here, right? When we avoid this EJB components here, it's need not to buy the license of this application servers. You can use Tomcat for running web services. Using Tomcat, you can run your web service components, so that you need not to invest much on your enterprise application deployment. And the same thing, you can able to manage it. And the advantage is, right, you need not to use Java everywhere. In case for one system, if you feel Java is better, you can use Java here. And if you want to do, if you want to add one system in Python, we can use Python here. For one system, if you feel that .NET team can work on it, .NET team can work on it. For one application, if you think that there is another programming language that will support, you can use that XYZ here. So that when web services came into the market, so it removed that mandate that we need to use Java components only across all the services. It's really not required. You can deploy one team who is working on here, a Java skilled team. One team who is skilled on Python, they can work on another application. Like the different applications we can develop and we can deploy and we can manage. And one application can talk with another application. As because they developed using web services. Okay. So the same concepts we have in Spring Boot also. Spring Boot also nowadays it is capable to provide that web services. Spring Boot. Now we are calling it as microservices. We can use Spring Boot components here. We can use Spring Boot for building this web services. Using Spring Boot also you can build source-based, REST-based web services. When it is Spring Boot is having its own self-container. You even need not to use any Tomcat. As built-in Tomcat it have. Just Java across all the servers. If you want to use Spring Boot, you can use. Let's say instead of using Python, .NET, if you want to use Java only across, you can use. And you can develop these services and run them on Java. Just JRE is required. So as JRE is by default available across all the servers for all the operating systems, your services are not having any dependency. They can run directly on any server who is having Java runtime environment. Okay, so we can use Spring Boot also. And what about Spring Framework? Using Spring Framework, what we can do means Spring also is a kind of Struts-based framework only, but it is having many features. So they made application development easy and reusable. Okay, the components we can design in a reusable way. That beautiful concept they have given. So using Spring MVC also you can do this job. Spring MVC also is MVC framework, and it is more than Struts and all other frameworks. Many concepts they have given. Even Spring with EJBs also we can use. And as you know, instead of using EJBs, you can develop them as a microservices using Spring Boot. So you need not to use EJBs. As Spring Boot is having its own self-containers, you can build applications using Spring Boot. Okay. Any confusion? Are you guys getting what I'm saying?
Enterprise applications are used by internal users. That's the difference between web and enterprise.
Not only internal users. So when a application is having multiple other systems, see why I need to distribute application first here. It is internal or external considered. Why we need to deploy a service into multiple servers? Can't we deploy it in a single machine?
For load balancing and
correct.
Availability.
So yeah. So if you consider like your Flipkart application or Amazon application, which used to get many requests every day on everyday basis and every minute, many purchase requests, many adding products into the application also, many things used to happen into that application. If I develop that online shopping application in a single server like Amazon or Flipkart, if I develop that application, everything in a single machine, complete code if I develop here, okay, so which are including product management, who or sellers will add the products, right? Seller modules, customer module, customers information management, admin module who used to see all our data and manage the application, admin module, and any moderator module, moderators to manage if some sellers are adding huge prices or huge offers to moderate them, moderator modules. And search module, which we used to regularly use. Many people will search instead of buying. We used to do so much search every day. the such module. If I include all that modules, basically they might have 1,000+ modules, maybe more than that in a single application. If they code everything, all these modules code here, there will be many problems. First, if you see, there will be many teams working on these modules. Okay, all together on this, all the modules, maybe like 30,000 developers might work. If I code everything in one place, is it easy to manage all that developers code? Can we able to keep this code in a single repository and to be able to manage that? No, it's very difficult, right? It's very much difficult. We can't deploy that much team on a single application, and we can't manage it. It's impossible task. If you ask me, it's impossible task. More than 10 or 20 members, if we include in the team, that itself is a huge team. We can't able to manage their code. So what generally they do is they develop each module as a separate application. They develop each module as a separate application using individual teams. So when they develop it as a separate application, why again we need to merge all that code again into a single server? Okay, development wise, we see some flexibility we get here. Development flexibility, code management also become easy here when we develop it as a separate application. What about server? If I use a single machine here, one machine to run all this in one machine in one server, if I run all these, is it able to manage that huge number of requests? Even if I buy a room size computer, or if I buy a a building size computer, do we able to manage that many requests from a single machine? And is it really doable task? No. When we get huge number of requests, one application may not handle it. There is some threshold. Up to that threshold, it might manage. Thereafter, they will behave like crazy. System might crash. So instead of deploying all the code in a single machine, we deploy again each module or each application into a separate servers. We deploy each of them into separate servers, so that it is easy to manage and it is easy to balance the load also. So when seller person login, when he wants to do the operations, he log into seller application only. All his requests, all the seller request, seller adding product or removing product, all his requests will go to seller application only. And when many customers request for only searching, all the requests may go to search module only. When all these modules wants to interact with each other, okay, generally, mostly they will not talk. Instead of talking, right, we put this code, all the products code, product data, we put in one repository. We put it in one repo. In this repo, all the products information we might put. Repository means it can be a database. Okay, it can be database of records, database of images, database of descriptions, many things, right? Their descriptions, their images, their videos, audios, whatever they put regarding their product. All that repo we maintain here. So the same repo, how we use for the search module, what they do by using internally, by using some middleware systems, they might move this data on everyday basis to another system repositories also. So there will be another repository. Into that application repository, whatever the data approved, whoever seller is added, right, moderator might inspect that data and he will allow to pass that records to such module. Maybe on a daily basis, some jobs will execute here. That jobs will move this data from here to here, so that whenever you search the approved products only, you can able to read from your repository. In case if one system wants to talk with another system, like admin wants to see customers data, if this system wants to talk with this system, then between applications the communication is matter. In such case, earlier, as I said, right, Jdbc we used to have. using EJBs, when you build them, again, right, you need to use application servers to run these EJB components. And particularly Java technology only they need to use, so that they can talk each other. One EJB component can talk with another EJB. But as we have web services, mostly now we are using web services only. Web services components. I'll make it as web WS. We can use web services components, particularly whatever code wants to talk. That particular classes only we will enable web services so that they can talk each other. Okay, so that we can distribute the load also. We can able to manage, we can remove lot of confusions. Okay, as if we think from a small point, right, we see that it's possible to manage all. But when you think it as a big picture, and you think like it's Amazon application or Flipkart application, a huge big application, if you see from their point of view, right, it is not really possible to keep everything together, and it is not possible to manage it also. That's why they used to develop separate applications, and they'll manage it between applications. If they want to talk using web services, and they will talk. Otherwise, right, some systems will sync the data. One system data will sync into another systems using some timer jobs. Okay, there are many tools for doing this also. One system data to pass to another system. Okay, in a big enterprise organization, this is the daily process that they used to do. Many systems at nights, right? Many systems, many jobs used to run to sync the data from one system to another system. Internal process, that's their internal process to sync the data. Even if you see from your organization point of view also, if you are working for so-and-so company, the company will have many employees data. Again, that company will have separate payroll system, separate taxing system, okay, and separate, they'll manage, right, employee benefit systems. So across all that systems, employees data, if they want to sync, what they do, they will on daily basis, right, they will sync our data to other systems. If you see this small organization itself, but when we think from the big organization, this many things might happen internally. When you want to build such enterprise applications, earlier we used to have this much confusion, this many things that we need to use. Now, when Spring Boot came into the market, right, it made the things simple. Using Spring Boot, easily we can able to build applications, we can able to manage applications. Spring with many cloud features it came. As cloud also we have nowadays, right? Even you need not to worry about the servers, how to manage them, how to keep the load, how to not crash the servers. When it is in cloud will manage the crash management as well. In case if one cloud resource is going to crash, then automatically that will shift to another cloud machines. They will maintain duplicate copies. Even we can manage it. Okay, so to sync with cloud and to build the enterprise applications, right, we can happily use Spring Boot. Are we guys clear? This is very high level picture that I'm showing.
Yes, sir.
With MVC, let me try to explain this. Okay, as we thought to start with MVC, right? We generally write any application. It can be any application, this component, or this whatever component from your enterprise application, either seller module, customer module, or admin module, whatever you develop, right? For developing these modules, we generally everybody will follow this MVC architecture. Model view controller architecture we follow. Model view controller architecture we follow. As per model view controller architecture, this is where actually as a developer we work, right? Our application or for our module, we use this MVC architecture. As per this MVC architecture, basically code means what? This MVC architecture we use to manage the code only. So generally code means what? When you implement application, what are all the components? We call it as a code. For views, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, any JS frameworks, images, graphics, many things we use. Many graphics we use. And along with this, we use our Java code and DB code also. We write SQL queries and all. Right? We include Java code and DB code. And any additional services code also, like logs to maintain loggings, logs we maintain, transactions we maintain, any additional services. If we need all that services, we maintain here. All that code we write here. So while writing code, we should not club all these. We can actually write it inside a single class. You can include your HTML logic, CSS, JavaScript, images, Java code, DB code, logs, services, your business logic, everything you can write in a single code. In a single class itself, you can write. But it's very difficult to manage that code. If you put all this together into a single system, I mean single class or multiple classes, okay, without doing logical separations, if you write, management will become very difficult. In single piece, if you write as a single piece, if you write as a single class or code, if you write, it's very much difficult to manage it. Difficult to manage it, and it is not readable also. So in future, if one more developer came into the project and if you want to read and understand, he cannot understand that. Whatever code tightly coupled with Java logic, DB logic, transaction services logic. So that's why, right, always people will recommend to use MVC as an architecture pattern for doing this logical separation of your code. Okay, so your code you need to separate into multiple layers. You need to write your HTML code as a view. A separate view layer we need to maintain. There we can create our forms using HTML, and we can use our CSS for beautification, JavaScript for validations, and any JavaScript frameworks, jQuery, Bootstrap, we can use them. And all required images, whatever the UI components, right? All the UI components we can use here. And when we submit this forms data, to read this, we write Java component separately. We write Java component server side separately to read the data. To validate the data, we write a Java component separately. So when we submit this request, first the request will come to this Java class, which used to read and validate. Once done with read and validations, we send it to one more class. There we handle all the business operations. We handle all the business logic. Even business also we should not club with our validations and read logics. Business logics we write separately. And after business logic, database, if you want to insert into database, DB logic we need to write. DB logic also we separate. As much as you separate, right, your code looks like really clean and readable and reusable also. If you can write separately, you can call that class, you know, somewhere else when you want to reuse that code. But if you club together, you may not reuse it. Okay, it is recommended to most possibly you need to create a component as a reusable component when you write a code. Okay, so at backend side we implement multiple classes again. So whoever reads the data, we call it as controller. As part of MVC, when we call model view controller, MVC stands for model view controller. So we have view component for forms and all. When we submit this view component data, we read through controller component just to read and validate it. And if you want to do any security operations, validation in the sense, part of security on the security or data validations, we can do them. Once done with controller operations, we pass the data to model layer. Okay, View data sent to controller, controller data to model layer. Model again is part of model again will have business logic separately, DB logic separately. Along with this, if you need any add-on services, additional services also, we can accommodate them here, like transactions, security, logging, whatnot. Many services we use in our code for doing logging, an example, logging and tracing. And if there are any exceptions, exception handlings, failure scenarios, or any additional services. Let's say your system is a banking system, daily exchange rate if you want to get, okay? So that exchange rate, if it is additional service, exchange rate system, okay? Any other services, I mean to say. Any other services, if you want to use third-party services also, you can use. Okay, so we call that complete component as a model component. Finally, database here comes into the picture. Once done with your business logic, we use DAO class, DB logic, right? We call it as DB logic. Finally, controller will send the data to business. Business will pass the data to this DB logic. DB will interact with the database. This much clear logic separation we do. We call it as MVC. Okay. Here you can call this as a business code, and you can call DB operations as a DA. Okay. So in this many layers, we write our code. This is just for clear logic separation and reusability.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Hmm.
Yeah, sir. Sir, in model, you have mentioned business logic as well as the DB logic. That is the doubt. Sir, so in model layer, we have the service layer also. Means
yeah, you can
add service classes also and DAO classes.
Yes, everything.
Okay. And the controller layer is that in that we can use that controller classes, mentioning the URL APIs version.
Correct. APIs.
Okay. Endpoints. Yeah.
Yes. Even see here we are. Even I used to talk business always as a service. You can call it business or service. Okay. No issues. While writing business classes, right? We say it as a service also. You can name it anything, but this is how you need to maintain clear logic separation. You want to name it as a business or service or, you know, whatever you want to name it, you can name it.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Hello?
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Actually,
Yes, sir.
My internet disconnected. Just be online. I'm sharing again. Okay. So where is the host? We lost him. Host to disable participant. Where's my host? So Ashok, you are the host. Can you please go to screen share option and allow control to everyone? Multiple screen share option. Ashok, I'm audible. Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, Ashok, you got the default host option. There is a share screen option you can see. Green color icon, share screen. Can you see? There you have one top arrow button, right? Beside this is share screen. If you click on that, there you will see allow multiple participants to share. There will be an option. You able to see that?
No, I'm not getting it.
Do you able to see share screen option on your?
Share I'm getting, sir.
Okay. Besides
that my-
share, do you have any other options? Otherwise, do this. Click on my name and try to assign me host. On my name, there are options, right?
Yeah.
Do you see make him host?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Got it. Yeah. Okay. So we are here, right? Yeah. We are discussing that when we build any module, use any technology, EJBs or whatever it is for building your modules or your applications. We code instead of writing everything, the code in a single component, we code it as a separate layers. We use separate layer, controller layer, and model layer. Okay, separate logical separation we do here. So the advantage with the logical separation is readability, and reusability also. Reusability, many things we achieve here. Reusability also we can achieve here. Okay, this many advantages we have.
So do we have like any other architecture other than like MVC?
There will be MVC2, MVC3. There are many architectures, okay? Even in MVC also, again, we will break it down into, between layers, right? We include multiple other patterns. But on very high level, this is the pattern, standard pattern that we use. Okay. So don't call it even as a MVC. What good practice that you need to do is clear logic separations you need to do. That's what MVC also saying here. Okay. And you name it anything. Clearly, you need to do logical separations. So read kind of logics if you have, write here into one class. You want to name it controller or you want to name it API, you call it anything. And business logic, you should write separately so that in future, if you want to change the business logic only, you can go to that particular business component and you can change it. DB logics, you need to write separately so that if DB changes are required, we can go to that particular code and we can do the changes. Okay. So this is the standard pattern that everyone follows. Okay. There are internally again other patterns that we follow. On top of this, we follow other patterns internally. Okay. We'll discuss them later point of time. So here, why I am discussing it here is, as I said earlier, right? Here we have many frameworks, Servlets, CJB, Struts, JSP, Hibernate, Spring, where basically they will fit. While developing my application like this, right? Where they will fit. We'll see from Java. Yes, Ashok.
Sir, I have one question here. So you're developing an application here using MVC architecture.
Yes.
So if it is, if you use design patterns here, what will be the difference?
Yeah, while writing your code, as I'm saying, logical separations, reusability, readability, not only this, right? There are many things that we need to do. Okay, coming to reusability. Coming to reusability only if you talk, coming to reusability only if you want to talk, your application should be reusable application. What design patterns we will use for reusability? DAO wants to connect with database. Okay, here we can use one reusability concept. What is that? Connection pool concept. You know, without using connection pools, if your DAOs directly try to connect and interact, your application will give lower performance. So here we use one pattern called connection pool design pattern. Okay, and while talking business with DAO or controller with business, we directly will not interact. We use a IOC pattern, inversion of control or runtime polymorphism we call. And while integrating business with services, we directly not integrate. We use AOP, aspect oriented programming. It's a proxy pattern. Okay.
If you give these kind of examples, it would be useful.
Many we will learn from Spring, right? You will become expert in design patterns also. In Spring Core itself, we will learn a great pattern name called factory. Okay, that's a beautiful pattern that we use across all the applications. Once you become an architect, right, you will understand the importance of factory. Without a factory, we cannot able to achieve many things. We cannot able to achieve. It's a great pattern, but those are very simple. Okay, singleton patterns, factory patterns. Okay, you know, right, all the design patterns what we have. What are they? We call it as object oriented design patterns, OOAD patterns.
SOA pattern, service oriented.
We have creational patterns, basically creational, structural, behavioral. On behaviors also we can write patterns. There are many design patterns. Okay, if we want to tell them as a generic, all the design patterns will fall into these three types: creational, structural, and behavioral. Structural design patterns, behavioral design patterns, creational design patterns. Design pattern means a best practice, you can say. A best practice that we need to use for developing our application. Even without that patterns also you can develop, but it will not give the best result. So if you use the design patterns, they will give the best results. Okay. So inbuilt, while we are using frameworks, right? Why frameworks became popular means, when we use frameworks, most of the design patterns internally they design and provide to us. So that for your application, you need not to have a very skilled architect to design that patterns. Like Spring, if you take many design patterns, whatever all important for us, really, all that patterns they have given in implementation, they given to us. Just we need to follow a particular style to implement application. Internally, it will adopt many patterns. So that as a team, even if we don't have, earlier we used to have very skilled teams. That means nowadays teams are, I'm not saying not skilled, but you really need not to worry about all the practices, as frameworks are really taking care of these best practices and given implementations in it. Okay, will this answers your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you please give some of the examples of the patterns of each creational, structure, and behavior?
Yeah, we will discuss. You know, in each topic we will see creational, right? Coming to creational, we have singleton, prototype. In first 1-2 examples only, we will see that patterns in Spring while discussing about our IOC containers. Okay, don't worry.
Okay, sir.
I'll point out while discussing each. I'll say it as a design pattern. You need not to learn them separately. You know, in interviews, they will ask, even they used to ask me while I'm attending interviews, which design patterns we use. I'll say there are templates we use here for DAOs. I say I used to use template design patterns. This is how I used to design. I used to use proxy design pattern. This is how, as a AOP, I used to use. I used to use pool design pattern by mentioning connection pool. I used to use front controller design pattern to redirect multiple views to one controller. Okay. And for maintaining clear logic separations, we used to maintain MVC kind of architecture and decorator design patterns, builder design patterns. There are many. Okay. I don't want to confuse you. Along with the topic, we will see them so that easily you will understand the topic and the pattern or the practice what they used as part of framework. Okay, basically frameworks will follow that standard rules as they are skilled team whoever developed the framework. They almost use the best practices before they launching that framework, right? They will keep on add the best practices also like in the newer versions. So it's good that picking up a framework for implementing your application so that you will use the best practices what they have given. So I just want to cover here and I will close the session. Okay, I just want to cover here what components from Java we can use for building these views. Since we talk, if we want to talk from the since beginning when Java born, right, since 95, and servlets and these components came into the market earlier 97, 98. Once web came into the market, you know, right, when this web started, early 2000s only. Before that, do anybody know that you see the Google? No, there is no web before 2000s. Okay, it's almost 20 plus years that web came into the market. So when World Wide Web came into the market, every technology adopted that web and they designed web components, particularly to design web applications. Okay, so from Java, particularly to design views, JSPs, JSTL tags we have for view designing only. Okay, I'm talking about only views here. That too, particularly from Java. We can use JSPs and JSTL tags, tag libraries for your views. Okay, and controller side, right? As I said earlier, servlets we can use here. Controller side servlets, filters concepts we have, listeners concepts we have. We can use them from the servlet controller point of view to read the data and validate and all. For the business components, right? As I said before, you can use EJB session beans before the frameworks I'm talking. And for entity beans, right? I mean, for DAO, for doing database operations and caching, many things given under EJB entity beans. Database operations along with catchy features also they have given in the earlier 2000s itself. The great features we have in EJBs. Now, slowly open source framework came into the market as we need to invest a lot of time, lot of technical learning curve, many servers we need to use while using these technologies. So slowly open sources came into the market. Whoever understand that EJBs, they started designing open source frameworks, which are not having container dependencies. Okay, why frameworks came into the market? Again, is EJBs means to run this EJBs, EJB container is required. EJB containers are required. EJB containers. If you design your model components on EJB, EJB container is required. Who provides this EJB container? Like WebLogic, WebSphere, they used to provide. Application server vendors. So it's mandatory that we need to buy them to use it. And there is a lot of learning curve also. If you want to deploy an EJB skilled guy, we need to do a lot of training and carefully they need to design development time, compilation time, deployment time. It's very much difficult. Generally on EJB containers, we deploy. Okay, coming to servlets filters, we can run them on Tomcat as it is open source. We really need not to against on these components. We really need not to against. When people will against on any component means when it is costly, people will start rethink of it. Why we need to use that costlier components? Don't we have any open source? So as Tomcat is open source, really need not to worry. Servlet components we can use. Later, many frameworks came into the market, like Struts came into the market. It's little advanced than servlets. So using Struts, if you develop application, lot of code reusability they have given. As I said, right, as a framework will provide many reusable components. So for the reading, validating, many things they have given in Struts. A beautiful framework. I used to teach it. I have given 100+ sessions on Struts 1x, 2x. You can see my videos on YouTube also. Okay, but it went to end of life. Okay, nobody is using it. So Struts 1x, 2x also came into the market in earlier 2000, 3 to up to 2010. They ruled it. Later, it's wiped off. Okay, and on similar like Struts, only JSF also is there in the market. Okay, JSF. So you can use Struts, JSF, Wicket. There are many frameworks. Web frameworks came into the market. They are capable for the up to web component only. And along with this frameworks, right, they given their tag libraries also. Struts given Struts tags, JSF given JSF tags. You can use the tag libraries here for your view layer. They have given their framework tag libraries also. Beautiful tag libraries also they have given for designing views. Coming to EJB components, against EJB components, particularly if you have plain business, if you don't want to talk with any other services, simple Java logic is sufficient here. Simple Java logic you can write here, or web services you need to use here. Web services, simple Java with web services. WS, I'll mention WS. Simple Java with web services, you can manage your EJB session bean component, so that you need not to deploy this in separate web containers. Even this component also you can deploy on Tomcat if you have web services, or else you can move this web services layer to controller part only. Okay, to run this plain Java environment would be enough. So you need not to buy any server. Plain Java environment would be enough. And again, is EJB entity beans components. The same team developer came into the market, and he given one framework called Hibernate. Many features we have. This is a warm against EJB entity beans only. Okay, against EJB entity beans. So it's a like replacement for EJB entity beans, you can call. It's a warm framework for doing particularly DO operations. They designed this. Particularly DO operations only they designed it. Instead of EJB session beans, you can use plain Java components. Instead of entity beans, you can use Hibernate. Still, they use Jdbc only internally. Even if you want to use plain Jdbc also, it's your wish. For fewer applications, only we use Jdbc. Maybe for many applications also. Jdbc also you can use, or else on top of Jdbc ORMs designed ORMs also you can use. So this combination you can use. And Spring also came into the market. Spring given support here. Okay, particularly for controller part, they given Spring MVC module. And for doing validations and all, Spring given one more module called Spring Security module. So from Spring framework, these are the again separate modules that we have. We can use them for controller part. Even Spring also given tag libraries here. Okay, Spring tags also provided. You can use that Spring tag library also for your view component. And for building your business code, simple Spring Core module is enough. Spring Core module we can use along with Spring AOP module. Okay, there is a slight difference between Core and AOP. Yeah, altogether AOP is different. Instead of object-oriented programming techniques, we use AOP techniques. You know, object-oriented techniques, inheritance, polymorphism. When you want to reuse it, we use that features. Instead of that features, other great features we have from AOP. If you already know about it, it's okay. If you don't know, you're really surprised by seeing this feature. Okay, so they are more reusable than the object-oriented features. More reusability we can achieve in AOP, that we will see. Okay, and here for Hibernate, right, to integrate with Hibernate, or if you want to use still Jdbc, with the best practices, Spring Jdbc implemented and given to us. Spring Jdbc we have. As I said, right, again with best practices, Spring with Hibernate integration, JPA integration also they have given. We can use them. These all are the modules from Spring framework we have. Okay. Again, to run all these components, right? To run all these components, Tomcat also not required. We have this dependency up to here. But not with the Spring. When you develop your application using Spring, let's say it is startup, okay? You started your own startup. You thought to develop a application and you used Spring. When you use Spring, right, you really need not to invest a rupee on the infrastructure. Spring classes will run on Spring containers only. Spring have their own containers. On that containers only, all your classes are going to run. Okay, all your classes will be run and managed through Spring containers only, which means your complete application you can build on Spring and you can run it. Of course, internally, this container should be triggered from Tomcat only. Just to trigger, we use Tomcat. As I said, right, we are not against to open source. As this is free, I really not bother about designing new server. Or else we can design the new server like Tomcat. It's not a big deal. For Spring, it's not a big deal even. They can design their own Tomcat also. But as it is open source, they are not against it. So to run, to switch on the Spring containers, we use the Tomcat. This is like a main switch. So this will start your container and your container is going to manage all your classes. Whatever you develop using Spring MVC, security, core, AOP, Jdbc, Hibernate, all that are going to manage your containers only. That's why Spring containers are very much important that we learn first about containers. They are not right like separate softwares. We need not to download like a.exe file and we need not to deploy it. Spring containers also given as a framework only, as a Java framework only they give. We will understand that framework classes first. So if we learn Spring, using Spring, what you can do means you can build end-to-end components. Earlier, we used to have separate components to do all these jobs. Now, what Spring did is Spring came into the market with all the modules to build a complete end-to-end application. Now, we can use Spring Boot also here. Spring Boot designed on top of all these modules. Okay. Spring Boot also will cover end-to-end. Same modules only we use even Spring Boot also. Spring Boot is a little advanced feature. It came with advanced features. Okay, for making less configurations. We use Spring Boot also here. When we use Spring Boot, even this Tomcat also not required. Built-in Tomcat they have used. We have built-in Tomcat. Built-in Tomcat also we have. We really need not to bother about this Tomcat as well. You must be clear, right? Up to here. Okay, sure. Are we guys clear what we are going to learn from the Spring, where generally they will fit? When you implement your code, for controllers, we use the Spring MVC security modules. And for business logic, we use core module. Basically, core also not required. Simple Java would be enough. But we use some core features. And the AOP module we use like to achieve some reusability concepts. And Jdbc, Hibernate, we can use using Spring Jdbc, Spring Hibernate. And Spring transactions also we can use here in this layer only, business layer. Okay, anyway, by using finally all these components, what you can develop is your MVC application you can develop. So what is MVC application? It can be anything. It can be your web service application, or it can be a normal application, whatever you name it. Anything we develop using this same pattern only. Just as a developer, you need to focus more on this pattern only. Okay. As an architect, you need to think of it when you have multiple applications, what to do between them. But as a developer, you need to focus on this architecture to implement your views to controllers to business to DAO and databases. Our primary focus should be how to implement this end-to-end. Okay, this is how Spring invention happened. Are we guys clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you share any detailed course content?
We have that content in web. If you click on that, you can see. Actually, there are many concepts. If you go to this example, you can understand that Spring Core itself having how many concepts. We should not put actually the complete content there, but on very high level you can see. Okay, in Spring Core itself, we used to have almost 60 plus concepts. But don't worry, simple concepts only. Why I separated them is just for your understanding sake.
Okay, whatever that is there on website, the same you're going to teaching.
Yeah, maybe more I will add during the examples if I realize something that I want to add. It's based on our discussion, right?
Yes.
We will add that, and I'll share these examples as well. I'll share my examples and the website examples as well. And I used to update all the latest examples also there.
Okay. On the website, actually, Spring Boot, it is not mentioned much.
No, not given. Spring Boot and this microservices examples, later I will update. Now itself, I don't want to put everything there. Okay. Because that is public, everybody will access. It's okay for Spring Core. I can give the public access later, right? I'll give private access to you guys.
Okay, sure.
Okay, yeah.
What was discussed yesterday? I am joined today only.
Yesterday about course content only.
Okay.
Okay. So we told that these are the things that we are going to cover as part of the session. Spring framework, Spring Boot framework, microservices we cover. Okay, the duration is 35 to 40 days. Okay, so it may be more than that. Okay, maybe 5 days plus. And we spend few weekends also to cover few projects. I'll show you some live projects, how to start from the scratch, how to buy something in GoDaddy or some other provider, right? How you can buy the domain. Okay, how you can buy the domain here, how you can develop application in your local, whatever application, right? Finally, we develop how to run that application by using your system, local system itself as a server. Do anybody know how to publish it? I need your help. If you know, raise your hand. I'm using this T-Rock something for doing that. If you know any best approach, let me know. I want to manage my own servers in local. Okay, but this is working. I'll show you that approach as well. Later, right? NGRock. Yeah. We can use this to publish application in local and deploy it to our web directly. So that you can start your own applications for marketing. And let's say in your city, if you want to sell some items, you can build a online application for your city and you can market it by maintaining application in your local, whatever it is, for your employee management, for your whatever, right? What can't we do nowadays? We can do everything, and we can deploy the same things into cloud also. Same applications we can deploy in cloud as well. Same applications I'll deploy in the cloud and I'll integrate with live application and I'll show you in AWS and Azure. Learning, yeah, Spring Boot is also not difficult. If you have passion on learning, easily you can understand, very easy concepts. One by one, concepts wise, I go right. Easily you can able to adopt, and I'll keep the link between the concept to concept also, so that you will not miss the reference. And coming to Spring Boot microservices are simple. Developing Spring Boot applications microservices are easy. Even if you came from the new technology background also, it's not difficult you to understand this. Why I'm covering all these also here, because as a Spring or as a Java developer, if you want to create your own design patterns, or if you want to make it more reusable, internals of Spring, if you want to understand, right, first you need to learn Spring Framework. Otherwise, learning Spring Framework may be not really required for the Spring Boot development, but yes, many concepts we use which are there in the Spring Boot, in Spring Framework in Spring Boot. That's why I'm spending time for the Spring Framework as well, so that you'll get full-fledged knowledge.
Sir, could you please
Yes,
share
sir.
this video, recorded video? This session.
Recorded session will be saved to the admin machine. You must share this through this link. There is a demo link that must share today, right?
Right.
Demo videos. Are you able to see these videos there, which is discussed yesterday? You must see. Okay, this is our first discussion.
Right.
No views. I see nobody viewed this. So if you open this, then you can able to see our yesterday's discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, this is our yesterday's discussion. Go and see. Okay. So
Okay.
only demo videos will be loaded here. Okay. Thereafter, actual videos will be shared with you through Google Drive. Okay. On a private domain, they will be shared with you, not on the public. Okay. But you will get the regular videos, examples, everything will be available. And as a trainer, I'll be available always to help you if you have any doubts. Okay. So I need the confirmations from your side, right? As soon as you get the confirmations, I'll directly jump into the discussion so that we can, speed up our training. Otherwise, again, if I spend 5-6 days on demos, we don't know how many confirmations.
So fees related, we need to discuss with the admin only.
Sorry?
About the fees details, we need to discuss with admin only.
Fee details and all, talk with DURGASOFT team.
Okay, so your voice is not audible.
Them, right? They have shared I think that, okay, just a second, just a second. Hello, am I? Hello. Hello, am I audible? Hello? Hello.
Yes, sir. Now it's audible.
Okay, yeah. So here you can see their details in the email which you get, right? The latest email, if you open there, you can see their contact numbers, multiple numbers they have shared. You can call to these numbers, and the Google Pay numbers. Even if you see any trouble, right, reaching out to them, directly do the Google Pay or Phone Pay to this number and send that screenshots with me, so that I'll share your email address with them to get the regular link. Okay, anything will work. You can directly do the payment to this link, or else you can add this account and do the transfer also.
After doing payment, do we need to share to the same number only, screenshot?
Yes. Share it with them. If you see any difficulties, share it with me.
Okay.
You must all have my number, right? Let me share this link. Yeah, this is our link. Let me share it. You can see my numbers also published there. These two are my personal numbers only. Okay, so this is our link where actually regularly we used to get the downloads of our all examples there. Okay, my number also available. Even I'm sharing in the group chat also. If you have any issues, you can reach out to me. This is my number. Okay. You can share the screenshots with my number as well if you see any issues. Are you guys clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So any doubts you want to ask, or do you feel that Do you want to add anything? Do you want me to add anything in the discussion? Okay, you all can open up and you can share your thoughts. We will take this session as a like interactive session instead of one way, right? I'll share my knowledge and you can ask if you have any doubts, and you can share if you have any new thoughts also.
Sir, how much knowledge on Hibernate and web services we need to have?
It's okay if you have CoreJava knowledge. Even I'm covering Hibernate also here. Okay. Yesterday I said, right, we are going to cover Hibernate also as part of this session. I didn't mention that in the content, but I'm covering it because, right, earlier I used to take again Hibernate as a 30-day session. It's really not required nowadays because Spring Boot completely removed that learning. Without doing any implementation itself, Spring Boot given Spring data features. So that's why I'm not stretching the people to mandate the Hibernate, right? So, but still I cover here all the Hibernate jars examples also you have here. I'll cover Hibernate in 2 sessions. I'll show all the basic CRUD operations, how to do using Hibernate, and all the features of Hibernate, criteria, SQL queries. Okay, that helps you a lot for your interviews.
Yes, and web services?
Web services really not required, as we are going to see microservices here, right? Those are the web services. And you want to learn the RPC style, SOAP style separately. If you want to go very in depth, I suggest really not required, as we are developing microservices as they are REST services. We covered them here completely. How to develop REST services, how to test them, how to implement swaggers, how to use Postman. That all we see during our sessions. Okay.
Okay.
I'm expecting CoreJava knowledge. That is more than enough to you to become the Spring developer. Okay. Any doubts? Yeah, Dinesh.
Sir, could you please give the permission for the screen sharing? I have one
Do you
doubt.
want to share?
Yes, sir.
Are you going? Yeah, we will do that at the end. Okay. Do you want to show something your personal code?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have one doubt.
No, we will do that at the end of the session. Okay. Let others finish. If nobody is having any doubts, let others drop also. We will see that.
So,
Yeah.
this filter and interceptor concept are in the design pattern, or is it a part of some like?
Of course, everything is a see, design pattern means that's what I was saying, right? Design patterns means a best practice or a something that implemented to achieve. We can call it as a design pattern. Filter is a design pattern. Chain of responsibility pattern it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there are many patterns that unknowingly we are using, but we don't know their names. If we know their names, then you can understand that, okay, this is the design pattern. This is how we can implement. Once you understand that that is the design pattern name, you can develop on your own also. There are gang of 4 book you can download and you can, see many examples they have given. Yeah. Anything else? Aman, Helen, Shiva, Surya, Swapnil. Yes, Surya?
No, sir. Okay.
Okay, yeah, great. So that's great. Yeah, Dinesh, you can share it now. Let me give you host privilege. Yeah, if others wants to stay, you stay here, or else you guys can drop. Yeah, Dinesh, you are sharing. Hello, Dinesh, am I audible? Yeah.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Click on share option. Okay, you have a green icon, share icon, right? Click on it, and the first option, complete window, you need to share. Is it your office work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll charge extra then.
Small doubt, sir. I have.
It's okay. I'm kidding you. Show me.
Sir, visible, sir.
It's loading. Patient module, doctor module, service module, user module, finance module.
Sir, in the service module, how can you take, sir? How can you take? Could you please tell that, sir?
In this module consists of both outpatients, inpatient services like rooms, medicines, food supply, test, oxygen. So there is all provide services to patients and also outpatients use extra services like ventilators. See, this is a service module. They are expecting all these features. So you need to design one screen for showing availability of rooms, showing availability of medicines, showing availability of food, the rooms, and the ventilators availability. It's all depends on the use case, what they want.
Could you please tell that, sir?
How do you mean? Coding.
What is
See,
not, sir?
See, you need to design the system first. I'll tell you that how to do in a one line statement. I can't tell you that, but you need to design first, system design. You need to identify what all are entities involving in your architecture. Okay. First, a use case diagram you need to write. As a learner, right? What you need to do, you should not go with simple description. You need to draw it. Who all are involving in that service module? Tell me who all are involving in this module.
Inpatients.
Outpatients, inpatients, they are the actors. You need to draw them like actors. Okay, now
Okay.
that actors wants to use some services, draw one line and put their service as a a oval shape or a egg shape one diagram. There put the use case, so that by looking into the diagram easily we can understand, okay, inpatient or outpatient, or these are who are the actors. They want to use services like rooms, medicines, food supply, oxygens, ventilators, ICU, special checkup data, whatever it is. Now, when you look into this picture, right, you will understand how many tables you required to achieve that use cases.
Okay,
Tables
sir.
means again what they will contain. Again, when it comes to each service, like rooms data, where you need to put to make it available to the patients in a database, you need to put in a database as a table, you need to put. When it comes to the room, what all are the properties will be involved in it? Room ID, room name, room type, is it AC or non-AC, and number of sharings, is it 2 sharing or 4 sharing or single sharing. Again, medicines, when it comes to the medicine, is it the normal drug or it should be a prescribed drug, how much mg it have, what is the price, who is the provider, and what is the availability. Those all are the properties in the medicine table. Again, coming to food menu, you need to put in a table. What are all food types available, veg, non-veg. Again, what we have in that description, in that data we need to put the food prices. Yeah, of course. So that's
Okay,
what
sir.
you need to do as an analysis first. If you do the analysis first, then designing system is not a big deal. Writing code is not a big deal. The big deal is doing analysis. You need to focus on the analysis first. It's simple that if you draw through these diagrams, it's easy that identifying how many involving, what is the use cases, what number of tables required, in each table what or columns required. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And sir, each table should have some primary key to identify.
Yeah,
each,
many things. Normalizations
many
we need
things.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they will
Entity
have
mapping should be
relations.
there.
Yes.
One to one, one to many. Yeah.
Correct. Between them, we will have the relations. I'll conduct a real-time project session separately. If you want to join, I'll show you the complete practices and designing systems from the scratch.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. That's great. Dinesh, it's looking like a project you are developing for whom?
Backend, sir.
I understand. Is it for your company or a student project you are doing.
Student project, sir.
Got it. Okay. Great. So that's how the learning will start. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So for one system, if you start designing it right, then it's easy to you to code. While I was student, right, for one system, my trainer helped me how to do the analysis and designing views. You know, the complete end-to-end picture he showed me. Then we coded many applications. Even in a day, we used to code such student application, 4 or 5 applications. You know, using all these concepts, Hibernate. We used to use reverse engineering tools also in my Eclipse. We used to generate a lot of tables, and from tables, all the ORM mapping files, DAOs, up to DAOs, we used to do reverse engineering code, and front end, back end, fatafat, we used to write the code by including all the JSP stacks, struts. But analysis is first. First, you need to do the analysis so that you will understand how many tables required, what is the use case flow. Without that, you will not get the clear picture.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So start on your own and let me know if you need any help. Okay, between. But I can't spend full time on that. Okay. But if you need any help on top of your learning, let me know. I can help. Maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So thanks all. It's already late. If you all have had your dinner, if not, you know, you must be hungry. We will connect tomorrow the same time, and again we have 3 days holidays: Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We'll have long weekend. Okay, before that, please confirm so that I'll be well prepared from the Monday. Okay.
Sir, is there any like minimum number of people that need to join for you to take the session, or like you?
No, usually 10 to 15 people will join for each of my session. For this session also, we'll get most of that confirmation. Okay. Yeah, even 2-3 people are also there. I will not stop the session. Okay. I'm really not worrying about the payment and the people here strength. So yeah, whatever I agreed, I'll continue on.
Thank you, sir.
It's really, yeah, I'm really passionate to teach. That's why. Otherwise, we really need not to spend a lot of time on it. Who really have the passion, right? They can teach.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you all.
So we
We'll
can
catch up tomorrow.
like do the payments thing after the tomorrow session.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah, even I'm planning for this session, right? Maybe by end of our sessions, some Q&A website also I designed so that you will get the certification also from my side only. Okay, it may not be a grade, but you will can able to analyze yourself up to where you learn. Okay, that I'll design and deploy it for all our sake. Okay. So thank you all. We'll meet tomorrow, same time. Till then, good night.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.